back to the show. If you're new, there's two types of podcasts that I do. One is a solo episode where really I'm breaking down important principles into a few actionable steps that you'll be able to take away right after the episode and work to implement them immediately. And besides the solo episodes, I'll have conversations with like minded individuals who are focused on personal development and all the ins and outs of the journey because it is a very long and depth filled journey. So, today I'm doing a solo episode and we're going to focus on how what you do and what you don't do is far more important than you ever imagined. And we'll get right into this. But first, I want to mention that if you have questions for me that you'd like me to talk about, a topic, a question, anything really, send me an email at agliscuscapital@protonmail.com. And I'll be sure to make an episode, make some sort of response on social media for your questions. So let's get into it. First, we all have 24 hours in a day. And this is important to recognize, to admit, because when you look at people that you admire, those who you may be jealous of, you have to understand that they are not wizards. We all have the same amount of time in our days, and your outcome, how you feel, who you become, that is directly correlated to how intentional, how specific you are with those 24 hours. And of course, I'm not saying that people don't get dealt a better hand than others, but does complaining about that help you at all? Does being mad at the person you're jealous of harm them, or does it harm you? You know the answer to that. And once you recognize that these little victimhood perceptions of life of others don't support you at all, they just make it easier for you to be average. It's a kick in your butt to realize, okay, if what I'm telling myself is not supporting my future, why am I even speaking that way? So first, really, it comes down to what are your priorities? Because with a limited amount of time on this planet, you really have to choose what is important to you. And something that is underrated is pen and paper. Just ask yourself, really, what are my top priorities? And then jot down 5 to 10 of the most important things that you're working on, maybe for this month. And you could do it for this current month, the next 3 to 6 months, the next 6 to 12, and then a rough 3 to 5 year plan. But really, if you don't have clarity on how you're going to invest your time, not spend your time, but invest your time, you're not going to get the outcome that you dreamed of or that you want. And often what we want is not what we need. And it's rough to go through this. In high school, I wanted to get rich quick. Now I come to realize I'm not rich, but if I had gotten rich, I would have went down a terrible path. I can only imagine what the foolish and younger Justin would have done if I had been granted that wish and been given all the money that I wanted. I surely would be in a very materialistic place right now. I would probably be dependent upon all sorts of substances just to numb myself and suppress my feelings, my consciousness, my dialogue on a daily basis. And I would probably have very shallow relationships because, see, money solves money problems. And money is a tool, a very amazing tool. But you have to come to realize that internal issues cannot be solved by external things, and money is a external thing. Of course, I recommend that you get your ass on the journey to financial freedom, because once you're financially free, you can pursue other things, or if you're really up for it, you can figure out a way to pursue financial freedom and do something meaningful at the same time. That is exactly why I'm here speaking to you right now, because I took the path where, well, what is the best way for me to invest my time and actually become fulfilled? And I realized the entrepreneurial path, it's not easy, but that's just what feels right for me. It surely is challenging, but see, in life, you need a balance between predictability and unpredictability. You don't want something to be too easy and you don't want it to be too hard, just like that Goldilocks story. Have your porridge just right. So you get clear on your priorities. Within your priorities, what are your values? That's what I meant to write down your top 10 values on paper. You get clear on those, and you can kind of have a closer idea of what's most important to you. But if you don't take the time to think about your values, I wouldn't expect you to have any clear priorities, not at all. So, what I'm getting at is there are seasons to life, and you are foolish to expect to build the perfect relationship, to get into the best shape, to be leveling up in your corporate job, and to become a chess master all at once. My point is that you have to pick and choose certain areas that are most important to you at any given time. So, with that being said, it's your choice to really take some time and ponder what are your priorities and what am I going to go at specifically right now. See, if you're intentional with your time over a longer period of time, you can become a chess master, build a relationship, move up in your corporate job, and get in the best shape ever. But that cannot be something that you're going all in on all four of those categories in any given season. So maybe two of them you can really prioritize in a season. You get those down. The next season, you prioritize the other two. Hopefully that makes sense. And something that I just have to say is if you do not make time for your health or your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness. Let that sink in. It's a investment in yourself to self-educate on how to fuel your body and mind, how to create the habits and routines, how to understand your psychology and physiology. But if you don't take time for these things, you're going to spend, not invest, but spend time laying in a bed, a hospital bed, a deathbed, something unpleasant because you were not intentional with your health. So really, you have nothing without your health. I know it's a cliche, but most of these cliches are fucking true. They're true for a reason and repeated for a reason because they're extremely valuable. You have nothing without health. So create a rough 3 to 5 year plan. Figure out what are your priorities, what your values are, and a routine, habits, how you're going to use your 24 hours to be efficient. See, I'm very conscientious, and that means I do not like wasting time. I am on the extreme end of that. I'm like the 93rd percentile out of 100. And I understand not everyone is in that extreme. But at the same time, this is why a rough plan is necessary. No one really knows what's going to happen 5 years down the road. So I think 3 to 5 years is like a good baseline. But let's move on to number two, your intake and your output. And this relates to having a clear mind. Don't you want a clear mind? See, it might be hard to even imagine. You might think your mind is clear right now, and you're just completely unaware of how much more clarity you could have in your thought process. So, what really changed the level of clarity that I had is when, number one, I stopped using substances. And number two, I replaced low quality food that was made in a factory or in a plant, and I replaced that food with simple ingredients, things like fruits, honey, meat, and those are the fundamentals to a healthy diet. You can have carbohydrates, but simple example, I'm talking have some quinoa, a very simple carbohydrate, rather than having Lucky Charms cereal with 50 ingredients in it. Most of them, or at least a few of them, are carcinogens, which is a cancer causing ingredient. And I don't want to get off topic, but the FDA has so many approved cancer causing ingredients for a reason. Cancer is a business, it's unfortunate, but I refuse to think that our immune systems cannot work if we fuel them properly. But when you're constantly corrupting your system 20, often, very often, your body breaks down and your defense mechanisms become attacked, and they have much harder of a time doing what they were meant to do when you are just continuously fueling them with horrible inputs. So that's why I really value what you put in your body. Simple ingredients, rule of thumb, if you can't pronounce it, don't put it in your system. If it has more than 10 ingredients in it, don't put it in your system. You can really change how you think, how you look, and how you feel simply by your nutrition. And it's a choice you have to make. There's trade offs in everything. Do you want to have unhealthy food? Yeah, well, sure. But then you're also going to feel like shit. Or do you want to have healthy food and feel high energy all the time? I can't choose your priorities and values for you, but I can share what I've used to become a high energy person who has no time to complain, just time to have work done at my high aim of helping individuals. Because the more that you help the individual, that ripple effect, you change one person's mood for the day, they come across many others throughout the day, and instead of them showing up as a low quality, cranky, complaining human, they're in a good mood, maybe because of what I've said or what you've said. You cannot underestimate the importance of that. So along with your input and your output, we have the environment and how your environment affects your energy and your mindset. So, nutrition is very tightly correlated with your energy levels and your mindset, but also who you surround yourself with. If you're around complainers, people with the victim mindset, woe is me, life is so hard, everyone's out to get me, it's not a coincidence when you start to adopt that perception. So it's challenging to rid yourself of people who are low energy and what I would refer to as vacuums. In a general categorization, there's two types of people: batteries and vacuums. The batteries charge you and the vacuums drain you. So be very intentional and specific with who you choose to put yourself around. And bless you if you're forced to be around someone who is a vacuum, but think outside the box for me. Please find ways to either try to help them, try to calm the situation, or distance yourself from the person. I'm not saying you got to slash it, cut them off completely, but if you can just find some time for solitude each day, I promise that will help you. See, personal development is not about going 0 to 100. That idea is bullshit. But if you can take one step today, just 1% better of a situation for your future self, by the actions, the thoughts, and how you show up today, you will be proud of yourself, and really you do that over time, amazing things happen. So number 3 is the routines that you take part in. And humans love habits. Our brain does not want to be running at maximum capacity all the time. The reason we need to eat so much is because our brain uses up so many calories. It's a very energy hungry machine. The point is, your habits and your environment are two of the biggest things that create who you are. So, let me give a few examples of good habits that really help me, and they compound. So I started reading 10 pages a day, and now I'm up to reading for 50 minutes a day. And reading is being very conscious about your attention. Sure, I have thoughts. I'm hungry. What'd that person say? What did I think about? Yada, yada. You do have thoughts, but when you can sit down and realize that reading is your priority, you will sit down until you get through those pages. You feel good afterwards because you just focused. And it's not about being a perfect reader, it's about having a meaningful goal to read and try your best to understand the book. You're not going to understand everything you read. That's not the point. The point is, reading is better than, I don't know. Here's a negative habit that I used to be so addicted to nicotine, so addicted to numbing myself with weed. Even, I wouldn't say addicted to alcohol, but I liked numbing myself with substances. Substances are equivalent devices, and it's not healthy for your mind or your body when you have these addictions. So a key point that helped me change my habits and improve my routines is you replace habits. If you want to stop using nicotine, what are you going to do to replace the time that you spend with nicotine? Number one, make it a hard rule. Don't say I'm trying to use nicotine less. Repeat that I am not using nicotine. I quit nicotine. Just the way you use language, that's powerful. And then number two, like for me, drinking water all the time is something maybe I'm a little excessive with, but hell, it's better than needing to use a vape all the time. So I would say I replace nicotine with having water around every moment. And I'm constantly drinking water, keeps me occupied. I mean, it's simple replacements. I'm not talking rocket science, but the smallest changes, they grow and grow over time. I promise you, you cannot underestimate the power of habits and consistency. And then a few other ones, our body loves consistency. So you go to sleep on time, you wake at the same time. I don't really have to explain this. If you do it for a week, 2 weeks, you will notice a difference. And along with that is getting sunlight early in the day. Your circadian clock, it's an internal rhythm that our body runs off of. When you get sunlight early in the day, it raises your body temperature, which gets you going, gets your thought process wiring at the proper rate for socialization and good deep thinking. Along with that, you have your metabolism sped up. So you're digesting food quicker when you get sunlight in your eyes. First hour to 2 hours, sooner is better than never, or later. I fucked that up. Better late than never. So sometimes I don't get sun because I wake up super early for 3 hours, 4 hours, but it's still a priority of mine to get it as soon as I possibly can. So just do your best with these things. I'm not a saint. I don't think we're perfectly imperfect. Don't expect perfection from yourself, but just aim to be better than yesterday's you and give yourself a pat on the back for that. So lastly, with the routine is an 8 hour eating window. Humans we learn to cook food for a reason. The chimp is shaped like a round ball, and their intense intestines are Man, I forget the stat, but I'll just be vague with this. They are long. The chimp's intestines are so much longer than the human intestine. And the reasoning behind that is because it takes the nutritional impact, the calories, the I can't get the word, but when you consume meats, cooked meats, we develop that because that we don't have to be chewing all day. And that's the reason our intestine is much smaller than the chimp's, because when the chimp is chewing grass or, leaves, that has barely any nutrients in it. Therefore, that chimp is chewing like 12 hours a day. And meanwhile, we don't have to be chewing 12 hours a day. We don't need to be eating 24 hours a day. So the 8 hour eating window, it allows for your digestive system to work, because when you're constantly putting food in your body, that is sending blood flow into your digestive system and therefore taking away from the capacity for you to do other things like exercise, learn, and have intellectual, deep conversations. So it's really about optimizing your bodily systems and understanding your physiology. That goes super tightly with the routines. And last, we have the vision. So your vision, your purpose, very similar, but what are you here for? And why are you waking up each day? I'll get a little woo woo because I realize that the scientists have yet to come up with any part of our body or brain that is responsible for human consciousness. So the thing you refer to as I, that's not your brain and that's not your body. Sure, for me, it feels like it's located right in the temple. I think that's very borderline with many humans. But scientists have yet to prove that our brain is responsible for consciousness. Consciousness essentially is I, what you refer to as I. And what I'm getting at is we are human beings. We are spiritual beings in a human body. We're not human doings. We're beings. There's a difference. So what you do, how you spend your time, what your career is, what your hobbies are, what you're doing is not exactly who you are. Who you are is deeper than that. And that's when I would get into the idea of your intuition. It's like I don't know the specific name for the part of your eye, but think about this. We can only focus our attention on a very small visual area. If you're looking straight ahead, I can see my peripheral as the left and the right, but I can't make out the details of anything except for what I'm looking at. And you have this weird feeling that arises when someone is staring at you, putting their attention directly at you. I cannot explain this. I don't really think anyone can explain this. This is linked to intuition. It's just this weird feeling that you get. And that's what I'm kind of referring to with intuition. It's not your mind, it's not your heart, it's your being. You just have this, and see, this type of spiritual idea is where words struggle to explain in depth the feelings that I'm trying to speak upon. And there will be some people who completely understand what I'm referring to when I mention intuition, and others will probably not understand. But what I would recommend if you don't understand what your intuition is, take some time to be quiet, alone, undistracted, sitting, walking, and listening to the sound of the wind, feeling each step, how your heels and your toes feel, whether you're running or walking. What senses, go through your five senses and really, what am I hearing? What am I smelling? What am I tasting? Etc. And that will help you get in touch with your intuition, with your gut feel. And along with your vision, your purpose, there is a natural curiosity you're going to find in this life. And it takes the openness to attempt new things, to be willing to get out of your comfort zone, to have an openness in general, because I would have never predicted I'm here speaking. It just, I don't know how this happened. To sum it up, my 17-year-old self would be like, what the fuck is he doing? But here I am, and this feels aligned with my core. I don't really know how to put it into better terms, but we can leave off there. And if you enjoyed, do me a favor, go on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever platform you listen on. On Spotify, you can give a star rating. And I'd appreciate it. Just be honest. I'm not trying to coax you into any bullshit. Do what you want. Give me your rating on Spotify if you enjoyed. And on Apple, you can write a review if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the episodes. And I appreciate your time. I appreciate your focus, and just make sure that you're moving towards a better self each day. You don't go 0 to 100, but 1% better each day. That's all I want from you. And that's all you can really ask of yourself. So thank you. Have a good one.